great, and that is exactly what we want to do. And that helped to kind of break the ice in the first day. This is towards the end of the first day, and that really helped people to kind of talk to one another, break all the barriers. So that is a very interactive session. But we also have panels and lightning sessions in addition to the regular, and also we heavily use Twitter to even introduce participants, to highlight any comments that they have on any of the things discussed, and so on. Yeah, so is there any other SIG member who wants to add on anything? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next set of topics. Are there any questions for any of the people here who are quite experts at running SIGs now? Okay, not seeing any hands, we'll move on to the next one, the challenges and opportunities. The first point I'd like to cover here is the coverage of schools of internet governance. Now, we do have, like AP6 says Asia Pacific, but it's a very deceptive kind of a coverage because it is not, there are huge swaths of, huge set of countries, for example, the Mekong Delta, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, or Indonesia, which is, so there are these places where we have very limited presence. We are trying to get people from these countries, like Myanmar, which is just coming out of, into the whole democratic processes. And we would like to get people from there, participate in this SIG, and go back to their communities and, share the learnings. That is not happening. And I'd be very interested and keen to know from you as to, do you have any Pacific capacity is not an issue really, because we have people like Maureen who are from the Pacific. There is capacity. But still, it is interesting that we have not seen a Pacific school, although we've been talking about it for quite some time now. So the absence of, or the imbalance or asymmetry in the coverage is a matter of concern. Are there any thoughts quickly on this? Yes, Maureen.
Thank you, Satish, for raising the Pacific idea. It has been, it's been spoken of. But I guess, there's always going to be the challenge of getting the Pacific people together. And I think that one of the great things, and I'm sorry I arrived late. I was at the SIG session, which I only just finished, and then I should arrive in the middle of Teresa's presentation. But although we haven't actually had the SIG has not actually been established as early as it probably could have been within Pacific. We've been very fortunate to have been able to participate in quite a formal, IG sort of like introduction through the Diplo Foundation. I have to sort of say that because my own introduction to IG was through Diplo, and I think that we've actually promoted that more so. I know that when we have the APR IGF, they're considering having a Pacific IGF component of it during that time, at a time when we can probably get a lot of people together. But those opportunities are actually not very regular. So I think we're going to still have to rely on the internet version. It's going to be important that we can still participate in that. Because the challenge of getting people, funding people to a SIG is just going to be, not very practical.
Thanks, Maureen. We agree that this case is complex because of the fact that people can't easily travel. Are there any other comments on this coverage issue? Okay, we'll then move on. Governance and the structure of the process of organizing these SIGs. Who organizes them? Who fixes the content? What is the process of getting the participants? Is there a community ownership of this, as Adam was pointing out? Are there any comments? We have seen multiple models in existence with their own strengths and weaknesses. Would the room have any sense of what is desirable for a new SIG as they're starting out, for example? Do we have any advice for them on this matter? Glenn?
As a person who's participated in at least 4 of them, I can tell you from my experience working with Satish, the fact that he did a change-up in the day, and I can't speak for you, Sandra, but that's the only one I didn't go to. she's looking at me and giving me the evil eye, so I have to defend myself. What you said it earlier, and I have to stress this, especially after lunch. And if people are full, they can't think very well. What he did, and I'm sorry, also Rita and others, what they did is they got them out of their seats, interacting, working in small groups, thinking, dialoguing. So important to energize the room, because you can see that after lunch, it just drops down, especially with some speakers that are really, really boring. So I strongly think, as a suggestion, do not think, don't have talking heads the entire time. Make sure you change it up.
Any other comments? Yes,
Hi, I have a question. The African schools started doing this practicum where they actually do roles, and then the Meissen school picked that up. I wonder how many of the other schools do like extended practicum where they take a case, where they divide up the fellows into various stakeholder groups that may or may not be their own. Is this something that has been picked up in others? Because I know that the two I work in do it, because I do them. But I don't know whether other schools have picked up on this kind of practice.
Thank you, Liana, and I will speak here now on my SIG hat on, Southeastern European IGF. This year we had that experience, youth school, and actually we, after the selection process, when we had already our students, we started an online course teaching them, giving an idea of, general idea of internet governance. And then on the actual day of our meeting with students, and we gave them in prior also, that was the case of Facebook, not Facebook, I'm sorry, Apple iPhone. And FBI. So we had that actual case, and we had divided the students in two groups, those who are with the Apple and with the human rights and personal data protection, etc. So this discussion, and on the other side we had the FBI, like the security, etc., etc. So that was really a very good interaction, a good exercise, and they were all involved in these discussions, and they learned how to, in real life, how that could happen, and they're taking different roles. This is a very, very good thing. Thank you.
and then go ahead.
Yes, for one of the Asia Pacific groups that we support, which is the APIGA, which is it's actually aimed more at university students. So it's one of the younger age groups that's sort of targeted. So it's mid-20s, master's student sort of level. Yes, there are this sort of practicum sort of activity, but it's organised by Net Mission, which some of you may know. It's one of the activities that .Asia Foundation organises, and it's a group of young people, mainly from Hong Kong, who get active and help people with sort of practical exercises, and they do various things. Not quite the same as the stuff you're doing, Avri, but a similar idea for a slightly younger age group.
Thanks, this is Bad for the record. So first to your question on how to develop the program. So from the Middle East program experience, we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and we have always had a group of community members, like 4, 5, 6 people maximum, working as a program committee to propose ideas, topics, and to develop the program. And we do share this with also a larger group from community members, this ICANN strategy working group in the Middle East, to get feedback and all this. So it's always good to involve community in the development of the program. It's always also good to learn from other experiences from other programs. One of my colleagues attended the European version of the SIG a couple of years ago, and he came back with lots of new ideas. And so I think these are two main things, and how to develop and also further improve the program. Now, on Abel's question, well, the answer is yes. We did try this at least once. The role-play kind of model, dividing the participants into groups and have them work on topics, and actually it was designed similar to the European SIG model, where they work on a topic and then they go through several steps of discussion the topic all the way to maybe making some recommendation, and this would take place over 3 days, starting with a couple of hours the first day to have a general discussion and then move on until they come back with their presentation at the last day. One lesson learned from this experience was that it needs a lot of preparation beforehand to prepare the students to make some readings and come prepared to work on the topic, not only to discuss it, but also to get some sort of outcome out of this.
Thanks, Pradeep. That was useful. Yeah, Nish?
One suggestion, can we create a toolkit for new SIGs to be formed? So as a group, there are newcomers like Bhutan, they are asking how to start this. So if we can create a toolkit, because we have experts here, so it will be better. The second thing that I want to talk about SIG Sri Lanka. SIG Sri Lanka collaborated with the IGF Sri Lanka. So when after the SIG, they all have to be participated in the IGF. So it was a special experience for them to be into the practical, how they use this in practical. So thank you.
Thanks very much. In the case of INSIG, the session was actually very interactive and successful, but we had some challenges in dividing people into groups. The reason was that some of them naturally were from, like some of them working for the government or the industry. They were put in other groups, so we were wondering whether that's the best use of their existing knowledge base by doing that. But we went ahead and did it nevertheless. The results were not too bad, but at times their identity tended to slip back to their original identity, so which is funny actually. Right, so are there any other comments on this? Not seeing any hands up, let's move on. I will club, noting that we only have about 6 minutes more. Funding, sustainability and quality assurance. That's the next agenda, and the next after that is the alumni and community building and collaboration. So what do we feel regarding funding of SIGs? Now, the India SIGs example is that it is funded. It is not able to raise its own, charge fees and kind of break even on that. Like we discussed earlier, fellows are actually paid all their accommodation and so on. So unless there is funds available from some sources, that SIG cannot go on. It is not sustainable in that sense of internal resources. APSIG is pretty much the same. There are funding agencies. Fortunately for most SIGs, there are people ready to fund and willing to fund. Although it's not so easy, but if you try a little bit harder, then you can raise the funds required for that. What is the general sense of the room on this aspect? Yep. Yana? Sandra?
Liana speaking. Yes, the funding is a real challenge, and especially I'm speaking on behalf of Armenian SIG and IGF. The thing is that all the sponsoring resources are limited. I mean, for us, the general event and the valuable thing was the annual meeting of IGF itself. And since the sponsors and donors are basically the same organizations, we had a feeling and a bad feeling, like if we ask for a school and then ask for the IGF itself, then we would not be funded for both things. Yet these are the different things. I mean, the school is for capacity building, development, you're teaching those who do not know things, while the IGF is an open discussion platform. But the sponsors are the same. This is really very challenging, and that's why we're trying to change the format of the school, not to be that much dependent on sponsors. But if we have, we we are sustainable in the funding resources, we could do a different way.
Thank you, Vienna. Sandra, please.
Just to share some experiences from our side, although we take a registration fee for half of the fellows, we would not exist without funding, and we are very thankful for ICANN, ISOC, for all these global organizations that they are supporting all the schools on internet governance, including us. What I would recommend those doing a school on a local level, please look for the local CCTLDs to pledge some money, and for the local telecom operators, they might have a real interest in getting the people which are coming out of these courses. You can actually also, that's something what we are doing, we have two possibilities of funding. You can become a fellowship sponsor, or you can become a donor, just giving money, and we take it for food, travel, whatsoever. But we also offer the opportunity of giving fellowships, for instance, Council of Europe. They would not give money into the pot, but what they do, they sponsor fellowships, and this brings us the fellows. So that's a very good synergy, and I'm sure you have organizations, CCTLDs, telecom operators in your country, which might be able to add to the fellowship program. Sometimes even they send their people in case of sending them, they say, we have a new employee here, he has to get on speed on these topics. We send him, we pay for his travel, for his accommodation, and if there is a participation fee even for this one. So they're sending their people so that they get actually the education in order to be fit for the job, what they need to fulfill in their respective organization or company. So these are various models which might also work for other parts in the world.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, please. We will be very short because we have to vacate the room now.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Aisha, Access Tunisia. I would like to talk about 2 points regarding funding. So the problem of funding is that I'm an Afro-SIG fellow. So the problem of funding is that we only depend on civil society organizations and NGOs to provide funding. So and we do not look for guidelines to be implemented at work to just participate in that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the second obstacle is that we do not have funding for sustainable schools and to fund outcomes of these schools, actually, to guarantee that these schools have reached an outcomes and these fellows really ended up with something. So that's the main problem for me, more than sponsors sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay. Last intervention by Said, and then over to Gunilla.
Two small, I would say, suggestions. One is that, yes, regulatory authorities and CCTLDs are potential funders in the local context, but we had to make sure that we don't get a lot of influence from them, because most of the time if they're giving you a lot of money, then you're kind of feel obliged in terms of tweaking the agenda according to their needs and suggestions. Another approach that we used was that we tried, it was very hard to get like $2,000 or $3,000 from one organization. So what we tried to do is that narrow it down to, in terms of resources. What kind of resources do you need? Do you need presentation? Or do you need a photographer? So you reach out to those organizations and then you try to narrow down your immediate monetary funding to minimum, and then probably there will be some organizations who would be willing to give that.
Thank you. Gunilla.
I've been looking after the remote participants as well as I can, and unfortunately we've had a few technical problems, and therefore they haven't been able to speak, and in the beginning they didn't hear very well either. But I just wanted to say who has been online remotely. It is Itisham Khalid, Professor Kilnan Shon, who is the convener of the Asia Pacific SIG, Nadira Al-Araj, and the Secretariat Kai. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Gunilla, and we have not finished our agenda, but we can take off some of the discussions onto the email list. I'd like to...
there's a participant list going around the table, and I know that we have to vacate the room. So rather than filling out all the details about the SIG and the email address, if you could just quickly put down the name, your name, and pass it around, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.